Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. We are going to be talking about healthy guts and poop tonight, and we have Kelly White here to kick that off for us. So Kelly, take it away.
Hey, okay. Well, one of my favorite subjects to talk about. I'm not sure if it's poop or if it's gut health, but there's a combination of each and they all relate to one another. So I thought it might be good to just kind of start with what's going on. But the topic tonight is, what does your poop say about your health? And those of you who have had children before know that, we were always checking the diaper. And then as the children got older, we were always concerned about, were they going to the bathroom? How long were they sitting on the toilet? We've been worried about that. So actually, our gut and our poop can tell us a lot about our health. And we can get a lot of information, especially because we know, and we've talked about this in the last couple of weeks, our gut is so related to our brain. And there's a lot of reasons why it's called the gut-brain pathway, because it affects everything, all the way from our hormones to our sleep. And we've talked a little bit about the gut microbiome. I'm going to go into a little more detail about that tonight. And then also talk about ways that you can use food and other lifestyle changes to really affect your gut and have it perform a little bit better. And want to talk about immunity and stress management and all those things we've been discussing with you guys. But it's really important to know that just to have that good, solid foundation will protect you from a lot of different things that are happening in the world today, not only with our environment, but with the foods and toxins we're exposed to and the ones that we put in our own body. And, maybe the ones that our body that slip through and our bodies can't fight off. So it is a really important thing. And keeping your body healthy, you hear people talking about the reason that we eat certain things, how we absorb it, and that kind of thing. But the really important thing to know is that there's this intestinal lining around our intestines that keep everything intact. And this barrier is really thick. It starts out really thick when we're little. And then as life goes on, sometimes that barrier can get thinner and thinner depending on, what we're exposing it to. But it is a barrier that keeps the waste matter and other things from getting in. And it's really important to keep it healthy. You can kind of see on this cell here, see those little, it looks like little scrubby on top. Those are cilia. And what that cilia does is it helps absorb everything. So the nutrients from your food, it kind of filters everything. It's just looks like, if you take a rug and a piece of carpet and fold it in a little circle, and you can kind of see the shag inside like that. That's what the cilia looks like. So it's a very important thing because it really takes our nutrients and moves them around. And bowel movements are really important because you want them to be easy, you want them to be regular. And keep in mind too that it's not always the same all the time. But if there is a problem, if you have continual diarrhea or continual constipation that can't be solved with some different lifestyle things, that's at that point where you need to really do something about it. And here's why. You've heard the term leaky gut, and a lot of people don't really understand what that means. But when I talked about that wall in the intestine being so thick, this is why it's important. As we age and as we're exposed to different things, those walls get weakened and get more permeable. And what happens then is different food allergies can develop because pathogens get in there and food particles can slip through. And you can see that lining being weak gets into the bloodstream. And this is where a lot of inflammation happens. I'm going to say sometimes related to autoimmune. We can see different changes in the blood that lead to heart disease. When we talk about metabolism and we talked about the metabolic pathways, this is where it all starts. And, common sense, what you put in your body, the fuel you put in is going to have an effect on how it operates. So just keep in mind that as we talk about the poop and what it looks like and what it should look like, that it's not, it could be intermittent that things happen, but it means that our gut microbiome might not be healthy. And that's what's really important here. And that microbiome has all those microbes and those little microorganisms. And there's a beautiful balance that happens in the body. And everything plays on one another. We talk about prebiotics and probiotics and postbiotics, good bacteria, bad bacteria. And it really has a lot of work to do because it's a filtering system for everything that happens. And it's really working to keep us healthy. And your body wants to have, healthy biotics in it. But sometimes, things happen. Maybe you're going to get on antibiotics because you have some sort of virus or some bacteria that you're fighting. And then that good bacteria gets killed off and has to grow and proliferate again, and you have to feed it. So the whole idea here is we want to feed the good, get rid of the bad, and then balance it out. So it's a process. So what should our poop look like? Now, this is a Bristol food chart, or stool chart, actually, that a lot of doctors use. And you can see there's 7 different types of poop when they're really kind of looking at how that goes. Type 1, type 2, type 3, you want to kind of be right in there in type 4. And you can kind of see how this could vary daily, right? But generally, most of the time, you want to be right in between a 3 and a 4. And there's a couple different important things to think about. Number one is the frequency. And it's normal to have at least one complete bowel movement a day. Some people have them every other day. It's possibly due sometimes to faster, we call transit time, the time you put the food in till the time it goes out. That has to do with your microbiome and other things. Also, the form, what we're looking at here is called the form, and what the form looks like. Now, number one are like those separate hard lumps. They're kind of like hard pellets, and they're hard to pass. That's when you're on more of the constipation side. Type 2, they're kind of sausage shaped, but they're a little lumpy and they're lumped together. You can kind of see the cracks. Now, when you get down into the other side, like type 6, you might begin to see food particles and things like that in the stool. So those are things to kind of look for. And certainly chronic diarrhea is not good. If you are having it, probably not regular, but maybe for a week straight, that would be some time that you might want to think about talking to your healthcare professional about it, especially if it's watery and there's no solid pieces in it. But kind of leaning toward the type 4. And this is that Bristol stool kind of explained. And so you can kind of see that we want to kind of stay sort of right in the middle of all of that. And that's what it should look like. And here's a couple tips on really how to have a great poop. I call this. And it really starts with what we're eating, of course, and lots of plant fiber. I like to talk about fermented fibers and pickled vegetables and pickled fruits and vegetables. That's what we would deem it like a prebiotic. And those kind of make the fiber and kind of push things through. It's like a brush on the inside of the intestines. And whole grains aren't really tolerable for a lot of people, especially we're finding the way that our food is processed and our whole grains are processed. But if you can tolerate it, there are some that are a good source of fiber. But really also comes into play are healthy fats, because they keep your digestive system lubricated. A lot of people don't often think that fat helps that, but it really does. Also, the way you sit on the toilet it's interesting, because you look around the world and the way the toilets are built, and most of them are built for people to squat. And have you heard of a squatty potty, you guys? Does anybody have a squatty potty?
I know someone who does.
Yeah. Anyway, the position is really important, and because you don't want to be straining. And if you get your body in that right position, you don't have it tighten up and things can just move freely through. And it's very important to kind of get yourself into that space where you're comfortable enough. I know when I travel, I have a hard time going to the bathroom sometimes because I don't have my quiet time, or I'm not in a place where I feel comfortable enough to relax. Does anybody else have that travel? Yeah. Mine started when I was a little kid. It happened way back then, I think. Oh, that guy. And then time. Here's another one I struggle with. Taking time to sit down and poop. I think that's why people have magazine racks by their toilet, right? So that they take the time to do that. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe that's when your reading time comes in the morning when you're doing your morning meditation. Start thinking about the same way you think about getting ready for sleep, getting ready for your elimination. And a lot of times we talk about if the toxins go in, they got to come out. And you just really want to move things through. It's really a good practice to think about things going in a 24-hour cycle. So they go in 24 hours later, 12 to 24 hours is a good transit time. And then we also know exercise makes a big difference when you're moving. Walking is a great way to do it. Other ways too is just manipulating the digestive system. It's kind of in a circle. So if you move up on the left side and bring the ascending colon up, and then move it over at the top, the transverse colon, and then the descending colon, and just kind of do sort of like a round circle or square. And some people are doing tapping as well to get things moving, just to wake it up, right? Fluids are really important, especially water. It's going to move everything along. It needs water in there to get everything moving through. So make sure that you're really well hydrated, especially if you struggle with constipation. And a good goal would be a half an ounce to an ounce for every pound of body weight. So the more you exercise and the more you sweat, of course, the more that you're going to need that. And there's a couple other things you can do. Here's a couple little tips that we have found that really speed up some of the movement to come through. And a lot of people know about prunes, pears, certain fruits. Chia seeds are really great. Other nuts and seeds and fiber. It's interesting because a lot of people that are taking Metamucil, or if they're taking some of those over-the-counter things, there's always side effects to that. What's really interesting is how it draws water out of the intestines when we really need water in there. So it's like kind of opposite of what your body needs. And sometimes it'll get used to stuff like that. So it's really good to try some of these more natural methods before you resort to some of the over-the-counter stuff. Tea, we didn't know this for a long time, but tea has certain tannins that really help firm up the stools. So if your stools are not hard, they're more loose, tea is sometimes good because it'll really help stimulate and also stimulate the peristalsis. Peristalsis is how it moves. And that really helps. What we've found, Colleen, I know we've talked about this before, is using that Smooth Move tea, which has the licorice in there. A lot of people know about anise or licorice. It helps stimulate the bowels as well to get things moving. And then if you have stomach aches or bloating or stomach problems, a good practice is to get some ginger or ginger tea. That really helps settle things down. And then I recommend just real easy way to get prebiotics into you really quickly is to just get in the practice of getting some really good high quality apple cider vinegar and putting some in warm water every morning. Lemon is also good, astringent to put in water in the morning, and warm or lukewarm room temperature. Any sour foods, cultured vegetables like sauerkraut, kefir, pickled foods kefir would be more of a probiotic, but what's nice is that is adding good bacteria into your gut and really helps with that. And then those of us that are using some of the supplements that were in this program, right now. I want to talk a little bit about three of them. The Meta, the new biome, and the magnesium. We're finding some really good results with some of these products, and people are having some amazing stories behind it, but there's a little bit of a learning curve on some of that too. So let me show you what I mean. The Meta is really important in sealing up that gut barrier. And especially when I talked about those seals and those tight junctions, this is really what we're seeing happen over time. Usually right around the beginning of taking Meta, people notice deep sleep. They notice their digestion is beginning to change. You may notice your stools change. You may notice a deeper color in those stools, maybe almost a purple color, like the anthocyanins. What anthocyanins are, they're plant extracts that have very powerful mechanisms in them that stimulate the body. And the anthocyanins we're using in this particular formula are bilberry, blackcurrant, and black rice formula. And they're using about 215 milligrams, which is probably more than you could eat in a day. But the one benefit is once you affect that gut microbiome and you seal up that leaky gut and tighten up all those junctures, that is really related to a lot of our metabolic health and a lot of the symptoms people are having with, heart disease and blood sugar issues and everything else. So the other thing is it helps reduce those endotoxins because it's a phytonutrient, which is a real powerful antioxidant, and it helps with inflammation and also supports metabolic health. I didn't put a slide in here on collagen, and I should have put it in the other tips that you can do as well. Bone broth and the liquid collagen, especially the liquid collagen plus, helps with inflammation and also seals gut lining and protects the gut. So in future slides, I'm going to have to fix that because there's a lot of research in how that can help with inflammation. So it would be a real powerful product to add to your regime. The Meta itself is a clinically proven product. And some of the things that it helps support is certainly our well-being, but also all of those biochemical processes we talked about in metabolic health. It also improves oxidative stress reduction. So it helps improve your defense system. And that means immunity. And that's something that should be important to everybody right now, especially in light of protecting ourselves from viruses and other things. The good and the bad bacteria get balanced fairly quickly with you take 4 of the these look really bigger than they really are. Those of you that are on the Meta know that they're tiny little purple capsules, and you take 4 a day of those. But it's really all about the biochemical processes that are happening in the body and just being able to reset that whole digestive system. And so that would to me would be one of the most powerful formulas because it's going to affect so many other parts of the body, not just your gut health and your digestion. And then the new biome is kind of a new product that we've had. I'm trying to think, it's just maybe almost a year old, but it has been really powerful in helping people pretty quickly get results with their bloating, their gas, their mood support, their sleep. It's targeting the gut initially because it's a pre and a postbiotic. There's a lot of new research in postbiotics, but this is really great because those 3 things work together. Prebiotics, remember I talked about those being the cultured foods, the cultured vegetables. Prebiotics are like the Miracle-Gro that you would throw onto the probiotic so that your good bacteria will grow. And then the postbiotic are some of the fibers and the dead bacteria that is like if you had a garden and you were putting compost on top, trying to keep the weeds down, that's what a postbiotic does. So this formula is really great. It's got pomegranate in it. It's got a raspberry watermelon flavor that really tastes great. And it also has some phytonutrients, so it protects against free radical damage. And there's no artificial colors or weird sweeteners in it. as well. Same thing, it's going to have a healthy balance. If you can attack this from all sides with the Meta and then bring in that new biome, and those of you who are using collagen, it's just a plus. And it's almost like a boost and gets things going much faster. A lot of people really enjoy the energy level they're getting too. And this is a little powder that you put in water and you drink it throughout the day. The more water you put in, the less sweet it is. And it's probably better to start out with more water than to take it straight, because you want to make sure that you're not getting too much, that you're balancing. And, you know, as with anything, there could be I call it an adaptation response. Like with the Meta, maybe your stools get a little bit looser than they normally are, maybe a little bit sticky, they're a little bit darker in color. Then you know that you're absorbing and things are working. And same with the prebiotic or the microbiome, new biome. Same thing. You may initially feel a little bit different. Your digestion may feel different. Everything needs consistency and time to be able to have an effect. And know that your body may go through a transitory response with it. So just hang in there, because it really does make a difference and gets better too. So I already talked about how prebiotics and postbiotics work together, but just think of prebiotics as Miracle-Gro, probiotics is the good bacteria, and then the postbiotics is the compost, and everything needs to balance. And that gives it a real dual approach to that. And this is, again, talking about postbiotics. But basically, you know, the main thing is what you guys are doing is really working on building a healthy foundation for life, for healthy aging, for being able to make sure that your gut is working properly, that you can fight off all kinds of immune problems, disease processes, inflammation in particular. And it really makes a difference. All of these ingredients, you can see this is with the new biome, are all studied. They're all made sure that everything is what it says it is in the clinically doses that have made a difference in some of the studies. And so that's what I think is really important about these Pharmanex products, that I think everybody needs to know and have confidence in, that you're putting your body in the right place, and you're putting your money where it matters most, which is your health. So I just want to make sure we get any of our questions answered. And does anybody have any?
No, that was really good.
Yeah, it kind of went fast, but a lot of the stuff we've gone over the last 4 weeks or 3 weeks we spent together in our master classes is just a matter of tying everything together. And I think the more we understand it, you know, the better we are down the road for being able to explain it to other people, but also to know that we're doing the right thing. Yeah.
That was good, Kelly.
Right. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I post this in our new metabolic research group. And let me just turn the record.